What is going on, my Atomic Autoworks friends? This is the umpteenth time I've tried to do this video because I'm not feeling well today, and we haven't done videos in a long time, so I'm a little bit rusty. This here is a Harley-Davidson Street Bob seat that we were doing. We already modified the foam. We lowered the seat, shaved the front, pushed them back. Cool looking seat. I mean, for a solo seat, I really dig these seats. I love the body lines and the accents that they have on here. I've gone through this a million times. What's the best to do, how we're going to do this, and I might end up redoing this seat because we're going to do it and see how it looks. I'm going to do it in stages as we go because this motorcycle here actually has, it's a black bike and it has like a brownish, tan, greenish, coppery accents all over it. So it's this color is pretty much what the accents are, and this thread matches spot on. I bought this Alcantara thinking that this would be really cool, but now that I'm looking at it, I think it's just too far off from the color, and I think what it's going to do is be a distraction. So when you look at the motorcycle, you're going to go right towards that seat and not the rest of the bike. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes a plain bike, people want a wild seat, and we do that. This one here, the customer actually wants it high-end, classy. He wants it nice, but not over the top too crazy. I think if we did that, it's going to be too crazy. He's not going to like it. So we are jumping back and going with this, a black seat, nice thread, and some nice patterns. And this is the pattern that I think we're going to go with, hopefully. Obviously, there's certain places that we have to do a seam because you can't roll the material around it unless you have super stretch. And if you watch our videos, you know I'm not a big fan of the super stretch materials. One thing I want to do is I like things that are flowing through here. So if you look at this here, we have this, which is either going to be a double stitch or a triple stitch. This one kind of comes through, stops at this butt seam, jumps over, follows here. Then we have this seam here that kind of comes through, comes up there, jumps over and follows here. And then we have this one here that kind of comes around, jumps over and flows here. So these ones are just going to be butt seams, and then these ones here are going to be just single top stitches, or single or double cosmetic stitches, or triple, depending on how we need. And this one I think we're just going to do a regular top stitch on here to break up that piece. And then this one here, I think we're going to do a top stitch as well. So we'll get, even though it's going to be a black seat, we're going to throw a lot of this color that matches the bike accents in there. And I'm hoping by having the double or triple stitch here, the single top stitch here, and all this here, that it kind of brings it together. There's a possibility that when we sew this, we might end up doing something in the middle here, some filigree or something like that to break that up. But we're going to kind of take it as we go because I don't want to go too crazy and have it overpowering, if that makes sense. I just peeled all of the tape off of the seat itself. We cut it at every seam, so now you can see each piece is laid out here. Now we've been using the tape method where we tape off the seat and use that for a while, and it's been working pretty good, except for I am noticing some issues where if you're patterning something, if you're a patterning person but you're not a sewer, it's easy to make some mistakes. So I think we might actually go back to our clear plastic method that we used to use, where we lightly spray some clear plastic and stick that on there because it doesn't bend around the edges. I think mentally when you do it, you automatically don't roll it around the corners, but because a lot of people are new to this, they start to roll around the corners, and you start stretching the tape, overlapping in areas that normally wouldn't be able to be overlapped if it was a piece of material. And I'll explain that to you. So now if we have a seat like this, and you were to put a piece of regular piece of material on here, this is leather, it stretches better, but if you wanted to have this come over here and here, there's really no way to do it. You see, as you push these two together, you have all this excess material. So normally if you were patterning it, you would take a flat piece of vinyl or whatever you use for patterning, and you put it across here, and you'd actually put it up to where it's going to have a problem, and you can see that it's going to have a problem here, here, and actually along here. So you'd have to put your seam here. So now what we were doing is we tape off the whole seats, and when I tape off the seat, I would go to find a seam, and I would tape off like that, lay this over where I know it's not going to buckle and twist. But a lot of people now, what ends up happening is they're just doing like this, and then they're forcing the material around. And when you do that, now the pattern is actually not really a good pattern. So I think we're going to go back to the clear plastic method, try that out and see if it works a little better. So watch some of our future videos to see if that's easier to teach people how to do stuff. This was working, but we're having some issues with it, and not major issues, just I like to, when you put the seat cover on, have it just go on really easy. I don't like to have to really fight with it and heat it and steam it and all that stuff. So what I'm going to go through is, you can see our patterning here. So now each piece is individual except for these pieces here, where you can see we're going to do a triple stitch or a double stitch, whatever we need. That's actually going to be a cosmetic top stitch. So what we're doing is we're taking our material, we're going to bond that to a 1/4 inch sew foam, and then we're just going to stitch our lines on there. So we don't need to separate that and do another piece there or a panel there. And all the other ones, because we cut it right on our line where we put our Sharpie, we have to add 3/8 of an inch. Some people add 1/2 inch for Savage. We use 3/8 of an inch because when we measure the needle on our sewing machine to the edge of our walking foot, the machine that I'm using is 3/8 of an inch. So I want to make sure that if I ride that edge of the walking foot on the edge of the material, my needle is exactly 3/8 of an inch in, and that gives us no extra sloppy Savage. If I did a 1/2 inch, then I'd have to trim an extra 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch off, and it kind of makes a mess. So I'm going to trace these out and cut them, and then we're going to start sewing them. What I did over here, hopefully you can see it. I don't know if oops. This here is the piece that we're going to do probably a triple top stitch on here. It's just a cosmetic stitch. There's no butt seam. But I want it to be the same within all of our pieces. So what I did is I patterned our piece out, then I just actually cut this with scissors, marked the line down here. So now when I do the mirror image of this, I'll drop these pieces back onto the new one backwards, and then I'll be able to trace that and make sure that this cosmetic top stitch is the same on all of them. Here's all the pieces. Now all these pieces I glued 1/4 inch sew foam to the back. So you can see there's quite a few pieces for this one seat. What I'm going to go through now is start putting our tan stitching on it, and as we go we'll see if we need more or less. We'll kind of eyeball it and just kind of get a feel for the seat. We want to make it have enough but not too much. Like I just said, what I'm doing is I'm sewing this together and kind of laying the pieces out as they go and as they're going to be, and trying to just see if it's going to be enough or too much. I'm glad we didn't put that suede on there, because that brown Alcantara would have been too much in the wrong color. And I'm digging how this is. I'm going to show you a picture of the bike, so hopefully you can see this. So you can see it's not like a crazy elaborate bike. It has like some different accents, like that stitching on there. The heads have a little bit of accent on there. And the tank has like a light Harley pinstripe on there. So I feel if we went heavy with it and did the Alcantara on there, it would have been too much. And I think this will be enough. And the bike's clean with a little bit. And I think if we did overpower or too much, it'd be overpowering on the bike. And if we did too little, it's not going to go with the flow of the bike. And the bike, like I said, it's kind of clean and simple with just enough of the accents on there. And I want to make the seat the same way. So I put this triple stitch here, and we have a triple stitch here that follows through along with a single top stitch here. What we're going to end up doing is these pieces get all sewn together. There's going to be one more top stitch that goes across here, and I'm going to do a top stitch on both sides, but we'll kind of continue like almost like a race stripe feeling on it. And then I think that's going to be it. I think that's going to be just clean enough and professional enough and nice enough for this bike. Let's sew it together and see what it's looking like. All right, so I just pinned the seat cover on here just to kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. I still have to do the bottom of it, and I'm thinking I'm actually digging it. It's, like I said, it's clean, simple. I like the lines flowing through it. It's not too much, not too little. The back, we kind of have like a bunch of butt seams that go together, which I think when they're pulled tight should look pretty dope. I just sewed the bottom on the seat, so now we could actually go downstairs and put it on and see how it looks. You know, I just realized, I think in the beginning of this video, I actually called this a Street Bob seat. It's actually a Street Glide solo seat. I think this head cold might be getting to me a little bit. So it's wrapping it up here. It's looking pretty good. I think this is gonna look dynamite on the bike. It's just enough and not too much, just like the rest of the bike, where it's black with a little bit of those brownish coppery gold accents, and I think this will do it. You know, we have this so it kind of flows through and comes down. We have this body line flows through and comes up here. So I think everything's kind of flowing and it looks nice. Right now it's a little shinier because I just cleaned it, but it will flatten up a little bit. It's more of a flat imitation leather, and hopefully he likes it. Oh, do you know one thing I forgot is people ask us the difference between like a higher end seat and a lower end seat. I won't say that any of the seats that we do really are lower end, but we're able to make this style seat and also like actually be comfortable by using regular foams, but the seat itself looks a little more puffy than the other seats do. On the higher end seats, we'll use like a really hard foam, and then wherever we stitch together, the material has the Savage, which you've seen us have in a lot of other videos. We actually cut the foam and tuck that into it, so each seam is tucked into the groove in the foam, and it gives it a really flat, firm, and professional and perfect look. But it does take away some of the comfort when you're on a really hard foam. So we're trying to do a happy medium for some of our riders that really want to ride in comfort. So hopefully you like this. Please remember, like, share, follow, subscribe, tell a friend, tell more friends, tell all your friends, tell your family members, look at our YouTube videos. And